This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, ho there, it's Jeff Carter. Welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, September 11th, we all know about what really happened on September 11th with how the world is. And, the world of sports was taken care of in 2001. It shattered everything. Baseball took a week to come back. Football took a week to come back. NBA and NHL had to cancel exhibition games. College football took a week off. Basically, yeah, the world of sports just took it harshly. But anyway, we got to talk about sports stuff. Something positive or negative. I know it could be negative to some people's eyes, but anyway, today, September 11th, in 1985, my birth year, Pete Rose finally did it. He beat Ty Cobb's record for most hits by a player in history with 4,192. Pete Rose was Charlie Hustle personified. He was the Cincinnati Reds personified. He grew up near Cincy. So it was a perfect fit that the Reds got him, and he really hustled his way through. He was a couple-time MVP. He was known for bowling over Ray Fosse in the All-Star Game 1970. He was known for it being kind of a captain, if you will, of the Reds and leading the Reds to 75 and 76 titles. He left Cincy to play for Philly for a few years, even won the 1980 World Series for the Phillies, which got them their first baseball title ever because the team that had been organized in 1883 was the last of the original 16 franchises to win a title. Imagine that. And then, he packs up bags after being part of the Wheeze Kids of 1983 that went to the finals but lost to Baltimore and Cal Ripken Jr. But he went to Montreal, of all places. It was shocking. Montreal actually got Pete Rose. Sadly, though, Pete Rose sucked in Montreal. He did get his 4,000th hit with the Expos, but then he went back to Cincy. I guess the promise of being player manager. So anyway, legend went a few days before this event happened when Pete Rose tied the mark of Ty Cobb at Wrigley Field. He took himself out of the game, even though Marsh Schott was not too pleased. No, sorry. The other way around. Pete Rose got hit number 4191 again at Wrigley Field, and then he still played, even though that Marsh Schott, the owner of the Reds, told him not to do it because she had planned a lot of things at Riverfront Stadium. But Pete said, "Ma'am, I play the game the way I see it." And of course, he puts himself in against left-handed pitchers or something like that. So he did. But thankfully, though, he didn't get the hit in Wrigley Field. So it was time to celebrate on a pleasant Wednesday evening at Riverfront Stadium. Tom Browning was up against Eric Schau. Even though his last name is spelled Show, his name was pronounced Schau. So Eric Schau, he wasn't that bad of a pitcher. He was a good pitcher for the Padres, getting 100 wins. I believe Schau is still the leader for most wins by a San Diego Padre, which is kind of strange in a sense. So, yeah. So Eric Schau was going to be the pitcher who had to give up that hit to beat Rose. So heading to that Wednesday evening, Schau, who was 9-9, took on Tom Browning, who was 15-9. Both teams were doing okay. The Reds were just 7 games above 500, and the Padres were 5 games above 500. Not really chasing for the divisions. They were both in the NL West, and, it was still the power of the LA Dodgers. So anyway, the Padres starting lineup was Gary Templeton at short, the guy who traded for Ozzie Smith. Jerry Royster at second, Royster the Oyster. Tony Gwynn in right field, the legend. Steve Garvey at first base. Everyone forgot that his numbers were retired by the Padres. Strange. Carmelo Martinez in left. Kevin McReynolds in center. Bruce Bochy at catcher. Kurt Bafakua at third base, and Eric Schall behind the starting pitcher. The Reds had Eddie Milner at center. Pete Rose would bat second in the lineup at first base. Dave the Cobra Parker in right field. Nick Escassi in left field. Buddy Bell at third base. Dave Concepcion at short. Bo Diaz catching. I think Bo Diaz killed himself, or I don't remember. I know Bo Diaz died. I think it was an accident. He didn't kill himself. But anyway, Ron Ulster, Oester at second base, and Tom Browning pitching. After the Padres were down 1-2-3, it was time for the Reds to go against Schall. Milner would fly one to the third baseman Bafakua. And then Pete Rose came up to the plate on a 2-0 count after he fouled one off. Well, he fouled one off to make it 2-1, and then he took a slider from Schall and dumped it into left field. And he almost went to second base for a double, but he thought better of it. So he got hit 4-1-9-2, and the game was held for like 10 minutes while people were around him. And Pete Rose said this was the first time he was on a baseball field, but he didn't know what to do. And the emotions just got to him. He said that if they cheered for like 3 minutes, he would have held it in, but he couldn't hold it in after so much. And Pete Rose Jr. greeted him too. Rose would end up being stranded at third base after Buddy Bell flew to left field. So with that out of the way, it was time for baseball. Escassi got an RBI ground out and also had a sac fly. So Escassi had both RBIs, and the Reds won the game 2-0. So yeah, great job by Pete Rose. Unfortunately though, things would be terrible for Pete Rose. Like, yeah, he got some hits and all that, but by 1989, his life was ruined because he was still manager of the Reds for the time being, but because of many other things, including his gambling, his career is kind of shrouded in controversy. It's like Ty Cobb was not the best player around. He was a racist. He was a heckler. He sharpened the spikes on his shoes on purpose. Like, he played terribly. Anyway, yeah, so Eric Schall died at age 37 because of drug abuse. That's kind of sad in a sense. And Bo Diaz did die in 1990. Oh, yeah. He was adjusting a satellite dish, and the satellite dish fell and crushed his neck. So, yeah, so he died because of an accident. So, yeah, that was kind of awkward in a sense. But, yeah, Pete Rose still holds the hits record. They didn't take it away from him, even though he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's still around with 4,256 hits. So basically, you have to get 200 hits a year for every year for 21 years to get to 4,200. That's how bad it is. That's how bad and how many people go through a hitting career of more than 2 decades? That's hard to do. Really hard to do. I mean, Albert Pujols, I believe, is and Yadi Molina. Yeah, Albert Pujols has been in the league for 20 years and all that, but he hasn't gotten to 4,000 hits. So that tells you how hard it is. So yeah, Pete Rose's hits record can't be taken away from him. His Hall of Fame plaque, yes, but not his hits record. Anyway, thanks for watching. Adieu.